The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited. Shalom, shalom. Come on in.
Wake me up. Midstream in a dream, don't touch, I've been taking up.
Our Patreon update. Come on.
7 hands, 10 horns on the waters, raising up. Praising up. I see crowds, flaming floors.
Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters.
At the door, I've been searching for it. I can't get it out of my head. I see the stars are falling down.
Stars are falling down.
Tempers
The
upon
fallen angels.
the chase goes on and on. I'm not giving it up. 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 Giving up. I'm not giving it up.
Come on in, come on in, come on in.
I'm at the point understanding dreams are the real time. Please nobody wake me up. I try moving on, but my body is stuck. My conscience is raised, an angel pick me up. Awaken from this matrix. Looking down on the globe, blood dripping from his robe. I know he can fix this.
I see a burning
See a
Rome.
burning Rome, and our people coming home. Can I please get a witness? Witness, I'm not coming down till I get this. These predictions.
Shalom,
can't be
shalom.
superstition. The decision being shown in the vision. Is yeah, I can't get it out of my head. I see the stars are falling down. There's tempers upon my bed. The chase goes on and on. I'm not giving it up.
Come on in.
I'm not giving it up. Ooh, oh. I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving it up. No, I'm not giving it up. Giving up. I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving it up.
That's right. We're not giving it up. The end of it all is the children of Israel living in peace and tranquility after the judgment of the Gentile nations. I'm Elder Rawchaa of the Gathering of Christ Church here with our weekly Patreon update. Okay. Of course, they say that ingenuity comes through necessity. And during the time of the so-called in 2020, it seemed as if there were more rules or different stringent rules that some could interpret as censorship put in place by YouTube, which led to us actually choosing other platforms to guide brothers and sisters through what was going on. The majority of the people who fell victim to the campaign were those who were ignorant to what's really going on according to God. They didn't prepare themselves for such a moment, and therefore believed everything mainstream media was pushing. Okay? So eventually we came up with updates in which we can segue people over and get some understanding of what's going on. scientifically, which leads us to our Patreon today for those who are who will be a part of this, and hopefully you all can become a loyal Patreon member and call in so that we can ask the tough questions, so that we can come to a consensus on how to protect our people, our men, women, and children through what's about to unfold on Earth. Okay? So yes, now I started doing updates and doing things that I wasn't doing prior to the, because so many people are confused concerning what's going on prophetically, which led to our Friday Patreon update to keep people in the loop concerning what's really going on according to God's prophecy and how Satan have deceived the world into believing their science. Now, our particular broadcast today, as you can see, Patreon, Satanist using metals to change man. Our Patreon today is Satanist using metals to change man. That's right. Satanists have made their way into every, I believe, allegedly, possibly, into positions of authority to bring forth the mark of the beast system. And that, the Bible tells us, that in of itself is what? Fusing man with technology is the eventual plan that the Bible spoke of when the Most High God, through Christ, gave John that revelation on the Isle of Patmos, the book of Revelation. So the end game is the Satanists who work in dark places would establish governments. They would place their satanic puppets in place to push the agenda, which would do what? Change mankind like it was before the flood. And through this, there will be a high level of mental illness. People disconnected from God altogether. Mental illness, high levels of psychosis, criminality at an all-time high, unexplained, deaths at an unexplained, when really, if people are looking, if people are looking spiritually into what's really going on, they'll understand that it's all prophetic. What they call mental illness isn't mental illness at all, right? They can call it what they want, but according to a person who believes in God or the Bible, it's demon possession. So what we're going to discuss today is how our men, women, and children, how all of us was deceived into going along with our own demise. We were deceived into going along with our own destruction. And I'm talking about how they would use metals and science to eventually change mankind. And we're going to talk today how they convinced us to do so, what type of agents Satan would use in our society to push an agenda that would lead to transhumanism. That and more will be discussed on Patreon. Now, also on Patreon, we're going to go into DARPA. DARPA. What is DARPA? Is there any plans according to DARPA when it comes to metals and humans? Will they eventually, or was it the plan, or could it be allegedly a plan to have so many metals or neurotoxins and all these things in one system? Was that the plan? To get metals in the bodies of people that would cause neurological issues? People would lose their cognitive ability to think, use common sense, only at the end of it to be controlled from the outside of your body. Is this actual science that's discussed? Is it a reality? How do we tie it all in? The telephone, the computer, the Wi-Fi, the meters, the technology. How do they get us to comply with our own demise? They had us accept the spirit of science, not realizing that the Bible warns us in the book of Timothy, in the book of Titus, that we must understand that even though there's so many advances in technology, which is efficient, that we can say, okay, it benefited our society, but at what cost? But at what cost? So I'm going to talk about that today and tomorrow, leading into our academy lesson, the four beasts of Daniel, this coming Sunday. How did they trick us? How many of us volunteered our own children, folks, for experiments for the sake of a check? Now, of course, you wouldn't do it for a check, but that was a positive caveat that, yes, I can get my child the help he or she needs. And on top of it, I get a check so that some of our bills will be paid. How many of us compromised ourselves to science because they told us something was going on, and by doing so, mental illness, demon possession, and now when that child or whatever grew up, that child has all types of issues going on based on our ignorance concerning what was being told to us while they were in their youth? Was this all a plan? Another thing we're going to talk about also is the metals, how they getting the metals in, how are they getting metals fused with people? Now, as you can see, brothers and sisters, when I speak on this particular platform, I have to be quite guarded. It's not that I don't know what to say. Okay. I have to pose it in a way in which it doesn't compromise the rules of this channel. But over on Patreon, we're going to quantify it all together. But I'm going to put it out there in a way in which you all can understand, being that the majority of people follow us, believe in the Bible. Transhumanism, changing people from the initial dynamic, man, woman, family, God. Well, folks, this isn't a new concept. It's a biblical concept that was pre-flood. Disconnecting mankind altogether from God by using metals so that another signal can interfere with God communicating in our conscience. Folks, this might sound like something out of a sci-fi movie. But I believe, and people can think what they would like, that all of these metals introduced in our society, I truly believe the metals has become and could have been the plan to interfere with our connection with God. What better way to disconnect people than to interfere with the signal? Distract people, use the lust of the flesh to deter them from actually understanding our true purpose with limited time. And at the same time, disrupting the signals, which is our brain and temple that's connected to the heavens. Using modern day technology, turning the world into what? Androids, robots, transhumanism. Now, I'm going to discuss that and more tomorrow, actually, believe it or not, with our Sabbath lesson. Okay? Our Sabbath lesson tomorrow will be titled, The Brain, an Attack on God's Temple. So you see how I do that. It's done, right? I make sure we transition from our Wednesday broadcast to navigate people, right? understanding what's going on with us real time science wise, how the satanic plan using science, how they're going to bring forth that is what I usually do on Fridays so that people can understand, will know how to navigate, not be deceived. Okay. And then tomorrow I'll go into the biblical class. Okay. Showing you that this was all prophetic. Also, this would lead us to our week 10 class of the Hebrew and Bible Academy. That's right. The judgment of the gods. Folks, the gods or fallen angels are real. And the metals that are being used within our technology and actually within our current system as a form of science actually happened before the flood. Metals are never good for the brain. Look up the word neurotoxin if you would like. And pre-flood, the book of Enoch, if you will. Let's go to the book of Enoch real quick before I transition over to Patreon. All right. And let me read this. I'm going to pull it up nice and big so you all can see it. The book of Enoch, the 6th chapter. And it came to pass when the daughters of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them, beautiful and comely daughters. These were the daughters of Cain. And the angels, the children of the heavens, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, come, let us choose us wives from amongst the children of men, and begat us children. Shemjaza and Azazel were the head angels who landed on Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon is the mount today in Syria. It's the paramount that's shown for paramount pictures with stars floating into the earth around a cloud landing on paramount. Paramount pictures is because that's right. It's a religion, a satanic religion of Hollywood worshiping the fallen ones. It's no coincidence that the same place Paramount is, Paramount Pictures, right? It's highlighted in a state or a city of Los Angeles. Los Angeles means city of angels. So they'll use Hollywood to push the satanic agendas. So let's go straight here to show you what was taught and where the metals come in, right? It tells us in the 8th verse about Azazel, one of the fallen angels. You hear about Azazel in the movie, Denzel Washington's movie, Fallen. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals. The metals, not just for the inside of the body, folks, but not just for the outside of the body in war and for tools, but also to utilize metals on the inside of the Bible, inside of the body. Nanotechnology. Metals of the earth in the art of working them. And the art of working them. Listen to this. And bracelets, ornaments, and the use of antimony. Antimony. Let's look up and let's look that up real quick before you. Antimony, right? Look at that, folks. Metals, atomic metals, chemical element. Antimony is a chemical element. Metalloid, mineral stibnites. Folks, this is talking about being able to utilize metals on a nanoparticle level when you do the research on this. Listen to this. What else is in the metals? What else did Azazel teach? Bracelets, ornaments. The use of antimony, that's the science that comes with the metals, and the beautifying of the eyelids. A lot of the makeup and all that has metal base. Now, the tough part about this is the makeup does enhance someone's outward appearance, but it would make a woman dependent on it. By covering your face with the metals, it's damaging to a degree where your face is worse, and you'll become unsightly, uncomely, unless you put more metals on your face. And all kinds of costly stones. And all color and tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, because that's right, this is where it began. Man began to make himself an idol, disconnect themselves from their true purpose under God. And at that point, mankind went downhill. Wars broke out because women was getting extra attention, and men started going after these women. And now there was wars against men through jealousy and all this. And guess what? Wars of the gods broke out. Those wars began to do what? Lean towards coming against Noah and the righteous family of Shem. Eventually, jealousy, warfare, hatred led to what? Led to Satan. That's right. Led to Satan, gave Satan an opportunity to turn man against God altogether and begin to sit in the temples of mankind. To what degree? If the Most High didn't send a flood, water, destruction, no man, woman, or child would have been left. And metals was the key. Metals was the key. Scientifically, it's the scientific key in separating us from our God. That's right. I know it's just a carnal metal, but if it's used strategically through science, it can do so many things. We were tricked into accepting metals in our temple without rejecting it, not realizing the consequences. If they put the metals in you, and if you're breathing the metals and it's in your bloodstream, and now you have Wi-Fi and all these other things going on. Who's communicating with you? Who's developing your thoughts? Can it lead to some level of mental illness? Well, that and more will be discussed on Patreon. And on top of that, how to avoid the metals going forward. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about today nanoparticles and what's going on with that. We're going to also discuss on a whole nother level here graphene. What is graphene? What is graphene? And how is it now that graphene, in some instances, is being used as a solution for water treatment? It's not me saying this, all right? And we're going to discuss DARPA. Some of the top secrets of DARPA that would lead to mankind accepting the metals. DARPA. Mind control technology. That and more will be discussed. One moment. I had to switch the lighting because it's getting dark outside. It's just lighting outside. It went dark. So, yeah. So we're going to show you how they were able to trick our people into accepting metals for a check. And how a lot of you out there can't even get it together based on the metals interrupting your system. You believe something is wrong with you. I have to think before speaking. My thoughts, I'm not as sharp as I used to be. I'm forgetting everything. And we don't even understand that there's a signal disruption going on in the earth, which leads to transhumanism. And those who believe in God and the Bible must reject this at all costs. What I'm telling you right now, brothers and sisters, according to God, can actually save lives and save our minds. And on top of that, you don't hear any of this being discussed in churches. The mark of the beast and how this science out here will be utilized to actually destroy man, women, and children. But but guess what? You'll find the Gathered of Christ Church talking about it. So we're going to talk about that and more on Patreon, and I hope you all can join us. Patreon, you got it? /A Gathering 144. Okay, now before I segue over, I would like to thank you all for being loyal Patreon members. And I would like you all to make sure you go to gatheredofchrist.org to order the new calendar in support of the church, as well as in support of the family for Bishop Dwayne, who passed last year. Okay, I need you all to make sure you send that. Go there and support the calendar. Okay. That's right. Run the race together. Run the race. All right. Also, I have good news for the Hebrew and Bible Academy going forward, starting our next session. Our next session, which will be in early March. Okay. We have a lot of new things. We're rolling out a brand new website, not just for the academy, but for the world. Okay. But on this website in March, our loyal Hebrew and Bible Academy members will have a one-stop when it comes to enrollment. No more do you have to enroll, wait for an email, wait for confirmation, call to see if your enrollment was seen by our team here, excuse me. No longer do you have to wait in your email for the lesson. Okay. So it has been integrated into one spot instead of you waiting, going here and just dropping off at another place and say, well, I paid and we have to look at that too. Right? No. You're going to have your school one-stop shopping right there on the website where you put in your information. Like a student in school, everything is there for you. Okay? How you deal with your tuition there is worked out, right? Which is it's minimum. It's not that much at all. It's very cheap, folks. Very cheap. Okay? When I say very cheap, 3 months of teaching under $200 with information you can't get anywhere. On top of that, your downloads, your links, everything will be there once you sign in under your enrollment number. Everything, your classes, everything. Even you'll be able to view us live directly. strictly from the class. One stop for the academy, and none of this would have been possible unless you brothers and sisters, supported this work, so that we can integrate, even use, you understand, the technology that is positive for us to actually get online and bring people out of the total destruction that comes with this satanic world. Okay, folks, you have helped us, and because of this, we have to put so much back in to make it so that one day, if any of these things go down, while there's still technology, you'll still be able to reach the Gathering of Christ Church somewhere, somehow, by us creating our own platforms. So we're not just sitting on our hands or sitting on our laurels, okay? We're thinking about when we could no longer broadcast. When it's outright censorship, the Most High have us already putting those things in place, even if it mean us creating our own platforms and our own outright. This is what's going on, folks, behind closed doors. That and more. Because, hey, who knows how long they're going to allow us to do this, how we're doing it, right? So I just want to say thank you all for all your support. Hopefully we'll see you in the next academy, which starts the first week of March. Go to historytimes.org. And yes, there's so many things we're going to go into with the next academy. And you know what we're going to talk about? We're going to do a whole lesson on, listen to this, extraterrestrials. Real life reports, folks. Top secret reports on what? Real reports, extraterrestrials, and the experimentation on children through extraterrestrial. Are extraterrestrials a part of our governments in the earth? That's a question. Do they control the governments of the earth? Wait till you see this lesson. And you're going to realize the systematic sacrifice of Moloch is true that we read in the Bible. That and more as we progress towards our kingdom. As we progress, as Babylon falls. Brothers and sisters, continue to support the Gathering of Christ Church with as much life in me through the Spirit of the Most High. If it be His will, we will continue. We will continue to shed light on what's going on, to sound the trumpet, and help our people through these dark times. Okay? If it be the Most High's will, we pray that He keep His hedge over us and this church so that we can guide you through the next event like we did the last. Right? From one event to the next until Babylon falls, and at the end of it, the judgment of the gods. And yes, Israel standing once the smoke clears without fear next to our King, Yeshua. We'll rule on earth, folks. But we just have to get to that point. And we're here to help you navigate through it. And through the Spirit of the Most High, that's right, through Christ, we're being guided from one prophecy to the next, which leads to our kingdom. That's right. Get on this ride. I see you over on Patreon, and this Sabbath, we will see you tomorrow at 12 noon. With that, I'm going to say shalom, and let's go over to Patreon, and I'll open up the questions. If you have any questions, let's go over to Patreon and talk about this. Satanists using metals to change man. Shalom.